Hello and welcome back to Property Perspective, the series that helps landlords make smart, sustainable investment decisions. I'm Josh.
And I'm Michelle. Today we're talking about rental yields, how to calculate it, what it really means, and why it's only part of the picture when it comes to property investment.
Absolutely, rental yield is a way of measuring how much return you're getting from a rental property. There are two types, gross yield and net yield.
Gross yield is the simpler one. You take the annual rent, divide it by the property's purchase price and multiply by 100. If your rent is £700 a month or £9,000 a year and the property costs you £180,000, simply put, your gross yield is 5%.
That's it, but gross yield doesn't tell you the whole story. Net yield takes into account your actual costs, like mortgage interest, insurance, service charges, maintenance and management fees, those things we don't like to pay. This gives you a more accurate picture of your real returns. So, what actually affects your yield? Things like location, tenant type and property condition all play a role. For example, a student let near the university might bring in a higher rent but come with more wear and tear and shorter tenancy cycles.
Whilst a one-bed flat in the city centre may have a lower running cost and attract professional tenants who stay longer. Different strategies suit different goals, whether you're chasing yield or capital growth.
So, to maximise your yield, first you need to review your rent annually. If your property is under-rented compared to other homes in the area, then that's money left on the table. A good managing agent can advise you on the current market levels, but take a balanced approach when it comes to increasing rents.
Second, need to minimise those void periods. Even one empty month a year wipes out a chunk of your income. This is where professional marketing, proper tenant vetting and quick turnarounds between tenancies really do make a big difference.
That's it. And third, consider sensible upgrades. Improving your EPC rating or replacing outdated appliances can justify that higher rent, and it's also going to attract tenants who are likely to stay longer, minimising those void periods.
Of course. And finally, think about your financing. If your mortgage deal is out of date or on a standard variable rate, refinancing to a better product could significantly improve your net yield. So, what I'm going to say is yield isn't everything. Although whilst yield is a useful metric, it's important to remember that long-term capital growth is just as important, especially if you plan to hold onto your property for several years.
Some properties may have lower yields on paper because of higher service charges or other costs, but if they're in desirable locations, experience fewer voids and attract long-term tenants, and then perform well in terms of capital appreciation, then they can still be an excellent investment. So you need to look at that wider picture.
Of course, and let's not forget saleability. A well-maintained apartment in a great location may not have the highest yield, but it could sell faster for more when the time comes to exit. That's an important part of the equation.
One of the biggest traps that landlords do fall into is trying to chase ever higher rent. But we always say sensible pricing leads to longer tenancy. I think we've said that quite a lot throughout this series.
Yes.
And that obviously means fewer void periods, fewer changeovers and more stable income.
And of course, sometimes it's better to let a property quickly at a fair rent and keep that tenant longer term, rather than holding out for an extra £25 a month that ends up costing you maybe 4 or 5 weeks worth of rent.
It's empty, exactly. So the key is to understand your market. At JDG, we help landlords set the right rent, review yields, and keep an eye on those long-term capital growth sort of aims, all whilst keeping your tenants' satisfaction at the very forefront and the centre to make sure we have everyone happy all round.
That's important.
Definitely.
So yes, yield is important, but it's not everything. Think about the bigger picture. What kind of tenants are you looking to attract? How quickly does your property let? What's the long-term potential for growth?
And remember, small decisions like the rent you charge or how you handle renewals can have a big impact over time. A smart strategy balances income, occupancy and long-term gain.
If you'd like to help, with reviewing your current yield or want to understand the long-term prospects for your property, we would love to chat with you.
Thanks so much for watching Property Perspective. Subscribe for more landlord tips and market updates, and we shall see you next time.